All right, let's go.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Drunk Duck QUACKCAST. I am Ozone Ocean, and with me is Who's with me?
It's Baines.
It's Baines. Hello.
Hello.
Baines.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello.
Yeah, we got the core team here. The two amigos.
Team 2.
Team 2, yes. T2, we have the brothers in arms here. All right. So this week we're talking about a news post. Well, the subject of the news post, which was Dave Chappelle's recent comedy special, and the anti-PC or whatever PC kind of flavor of it, which is quite interesting. For
it's
reasons.
pretty. Yeah.
Many reasons, and we'll talk about that aspect of comedy and pop culture, PC, anti-PC reactions to it, critic reaction versus audience reaction, all that kind of thing, and also in webcomics too. But before we get into that, I have to bring up the featured comic. I did the featured comic this week, and I featured a comic called Limbo Road. So, Limbo Road. Check it out. Here I am talking about Limbo Road. The featured comic for the week was Limbo Road. Limbo Road is an interesting little place filled with a cast of colourful characters and the dumb things they get up to. Dr. Faust, for instance. He's the resident mad scientist. He routinely finds himself creating sassy, smart, talking animals like Panda Bat and a talking turtle with a giant brain. We're slowly being introduced to this friendly bunch as the comic goes on. Limbo Road is a newspaper-style comic strip drawn in black and white. The story style is comedic slice of life, and the art style is stylized and funny. Limbo Road updates frequently, so it's great to add to your roster of weekly reads. It's one of those sort of comics, like newspaper strips, where you can sort of bookmark them and check them every week, and just to see what's up and have it as your regular read. I used to really like those. It's been a lot of fun. You could sort of rely on them to update, and you can read along and see how they progress. They're good. So, Limbo Road, it's by Bill Bushman, rated T, so this is pretty safe for all the family. It's in the style of newspaper comic strips. It's not too controversial or too mean or nasty and anything like that. It's just good general level humor. So yeah, it's a good one to read. It's very sort of professionally done, I would say. It's getting there to that sort of point where it could be regarded as almost a professional piece of work, if it's not already. So it's quite slick in its stylings. I think it really should be a professional work. It should be in a newspaper or something like that, because it really does fit into that kind of scene. So anyway, read Limbo Road by Bill Bushman and enjoy. And that was the featured comic, Limbo Road. I'm getting extra Australian now. Limbo Road. It's a good comic. Have a read of it. And I would have said some amazing things in my featured discussion. All right, next up we have the featured music. Gumball has given us the theme to Zombie. That's title.
Cool.
Zombie. So I would describe this as being really frickin' creepy, haunting, futuristic, and cute. I'm not quite sure how that's possible. I don't know. I'm not someone who can compose music. This is a mystery to me. It's magic. Listen and be astounded by the interestingly impossible mix, and try not to get too creeped out. Keep the lights on. So yeah, this is a creepy, goblin-worthy piece of music that turns into something more silly. Have a listen.
Oh, okay.
To
Interesting. Yeah, look forward
Our
to hearing it.
Zombie.
It's goblin worthy.
And that was the featured music, Gum Wallace's Our Zombie. Well, actually, the comic is by Skeptical Square, and it's rated T. So, yeah, that's whose comic it is. Gum Wallace's version
Arg.
of the music. Yeah, Arg. That's a better characterization of the word.
I was trying to find it there. And, yeah, it's ARGH zombie.
Yes.
Or ARG a zombie or ARG zombie.
With weird, I think they call it camel case, is the way you describe that, the capitalization. Zombie.
Oh, okay.
It's not maybe like pronounced. It's just, it looks fun. That's why people do it. Anyway.
Yes.
Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle, the baldy comedian who, okay, let's talk about Dave Chappelle. He's a weird looking character. He is a skinny guy. He used to be anyway, with a skinny little neck, a bald head, big teeth, and a southern accent. That's Dave Chappelle. He's a weird guy. So he came to fame in like the 90s, maybe late 80s. He progressed to having his own TV show, The Dave Chappelle Show. He created these iconic characters. I'm Rick James, bitch! That was his thing. He made Rick James' character a thing. Before that, no one really cared, because Rick James was 1970s and, well, yeah, whatever. He made a whole lot of like fun stuff. He did a whole lot of comedy about GTA. It was the early 2000s, really, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was he created a lot of fun stuff. He became a really iconic comedian and made his fortune, and then he sort of went away and did specials and stuff like that. So anyway,
well, it might have been the heyday of his fame. I don't know if everyone knows this, or people just don't even know who he is, maybe. But in his sort of the height of his fame, when he was sort of contracted to do I think it was a third season of the Chappelle Show. It was a massive amount, millions and millions of dollars he was offered, and he walked away from it to leave and go to Africa. And it was a sort of a huge thing at one time. It's like, what? Where did he go? What happened?
Really?
Did he have a nervous breakdown? Yeah, it was huge. That was sort of the height of his fame.
He did
in the, I guess, the
Ali,
early 2000s.
Cassius Clay.
Right.
Went back to the roots.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he went away, and then he was kind of gone for years, I think.
Okay.
And then came back and did these huge and made news doing these massive Netflix specials.
Yeah.
I guess last year and this year. And the newest one just came out. Yeah.
I am going to have to subscribe to bloody Netflix. There's just so much pop culture stuff that I'm missing out on. It's good.
Well, you can hear about it.
I can, but it's more fun to actually be, part of it, rather than just knowing the outside of everything.
Yeah, join that Netflix club, man. I had no idea you didn't have it.
Yeah, well, I mean, All my friends bloody do. I should get into it. Anyway, so Dave Chappelle, what's this particular special called? Too Hot for TV? Oh, that was your news
it's called
post.
Sticks and Stones.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Exactly. His other Netflix specials, he was attacked quite a bit, I guess, in the media and by some audiences, maybe, for controversial subjects he was tackling, talking about the scandal with Louis C.K., trans people, other gender things, and like I don't remember exactly which comments caused controversy. Everything causes controversy, but this made a pretty big splash.
All right.
And people were upset. I think, in particular, the trans community and Louis C.K. Women who were involved with that were upset. But in particular, I think the trans thing, to use a phrase that annoys me, trans community was upset. And then in this new special, he addresses that, and he kind of doesn't back down.
Right, he addresses the controversy. He
does, right?
Whoa.
That's how the special starts, pretty much. Yeah, he goes right into it. And other shocking things. I mean, he says some shocking things.
So that's why it is so, why it has, attracted comment, because, he's fighting. Yeah. He's coming out swinging.
And he does it, and he explains himself, and he's in a funny way. He's a funny guy. He's not, to come out and kind of, I guess, bloviate and be like really opinionated and unfunny is the way a lot of comedians go these days, it seems. He does it funny, and he does it in that Dave Chappelle way, that kind of mellow way, but kind of, he keeps it very honest, which you got to respect, man. In this day and age, like someone who will say things, even if it's not a pretty truth, he'll say it the way he sees it, and not be fake about it to sort of make himself seem better or to not get slammed.
Yeah. All right, this is interesting. Okay, so there's one kind of factor I want to address. Okay, so by addressing this Dave Chappelle thing and his whatever stance on PC culture or whatever, we're not endorsing it or criticizing it. So we're neutral on that. All right. And I will say, like, okay, so there is a whole culture of, being PC, attacking PC, and being PC and attacking everyone else. So there's those sort of things. And I'm editorializing.
Attackers of the attackers.
Yeah, attackers of the attackers. So I'm editorializing a bit, but okay, You do have some people who want to be, they genuinely want to be supporting people. They genuinely, don't want to attack, but they want to bring people up. They don't want to attack people. They want to be inclusive. All right, that's good. These people are superheroes. I like that. I support that. They're, Superman incarnate. You want to bring people up. You don't want to attack them. Then you have other people who they think they're on the same PC side. What their main goal tends to be is attack everyone who doesn't fit in. They want to attack everyone who is perceived to be an enemy. Okay, and that's how they get their fun. They enjoy that. And they tend to do this by just creating straw men all over the place. So if you make any kind of comment, will automatically become a representative of the bad guy, and they'll attack you. Okay, so you said something that you don't particularly understand, the term cisgender. Well, that's because you're an unreconstructed caveman, and you're anti-PC and you're anti-trans, and you're an idiot, and I must educate you. And don't ever call someone, define them in your ways. Don't call them a transsexual. Don't call them a transvestite. You've got to, I'm going to educate you now. So now these people, we don't like them. Well, I don't like them. Don't come out. Don't have your jollies making straw men of other people and attacking them. If you want to be like supportive of PC culture and be good about it, well, then you're all about being inclusive and supporting people. And you don't do that by wantingly attacking everyone and creating straw men. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't want to make myself a target by doing that, but yeah, sorry. It's not a good way to be. You don't want to be a douche. Okay, principal right. PC. All right. So Dave Chappelle's thing. It's very interesting. So he has actually come out addressing stuff. You've made the mention that you're quite supportive of him and you're quite pro him because he is like has the bravery to actually tackle these things head on.
Yeah, because so many people don't. You know, they want to be, and with, you know, maybe good reason. Like people can lose their jobs. They can lose their social status. You know, they can be painted in a certain way, and on social media, that can be kind of devastating to a person because, like, some loud criticism can paint someone as a racist, paint someone as, you know, sexist or genderist.
Yeah, intolerant.
And, it's all over intolerant, yeah, and it's magnified by Twitter. It's magnified by the fact that celebrities are very loud about this stuff. Will attack each other. And this is very much not the mainstream narrative at this point, what Dave Chappelle is doing, or the mainstream kind of accepted point of view, you know. And there's pressure to that, and there's kind of there's a little bit of authoritarianism flavor to that. You know, like it's if you can go this far and no further, you can go that far and no further before you're painted as a, I mean, like you were saying, like a white hood wearing, you know,
yeah, and no one's immune to that.
Hardcore Trump. I mean. No, I mean, and you have a target on you if you're a celebrity. I mean, it's interesting and a little bit strange in that Dave Chappelle's a black guy. So I think that, I don't know how that changes things exactly, but it must. Like, it must make him odd to criticize when it's very much.
I don't think so. There's people of all cultures, you know, in ethnicities and skin colors who do this. It's all across the board. Steve Peters, Indian, Canadian comedian, you know, treads sort of the same ground. There's
Russell Peters, you mean?
Russell Peters, that's it. Yeah. There's a lot of different people that do it. The Iglesias, he's pretty good. You know, that Mencia guy. Okay, so he's another one who is Mencia? I don't know. He's shit. But you have, in the world of stand-up comedians, you have people on all sides, and I think there's this idea that okay, so all stand-up comedians tend to be very you know, think the same and they're all PC, which is not true at all. You have people on.
I wouldn't say that. I would say the current culture is a certain way, and probably the majority of known comedians are accepting that and playing to that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot
you have to hate Trump,
yeah,
and you have to be on a certain page. I'll say, what would be the word? Like, not just politically, but like socially, have a certain narrative that you support.
Yeah,
on a social level. Social dynamics level or social culture level.
And so what are the things that are forcing people to do this? Because I mean, it's not just peer pressure. It's not just, oh, I want to appear good. I want to appear nice so people will like me. That's not really so much the drive. There's advertisers.
Well, it is because you want to be hired. You know, these people who are working in the field anyway, like they want to be hired
There's
by
pressure on
companies.
advertisers.
Yeah, there's a pressure to like there's advertisers and there's companies that want a certain image. Movie studios
Yep.
and TV studios want a certain image. They don't want to be affected financially by any kind of troublesome
Scandals.
public image or scandals exactly that you might have. So there's like to keep working, you want to sort of maintain that party line. And with the world as it is today, which is pretty recent, like with social media and everything being out there, and little like anything you say can be magnified and it's there forever, and can be maybe not considered very deeply or
Mm.
thoughtfully. People don't want to hear explanations. They want to hear a spicy headline and
Yeah.
condemn. So it's risky for celebrities to step out of line. Like a lot of them will just not say anything, which is good. I think it can be tempting to say something. Like people get angry
Yeah.
about things and they get riled up by news stories and whatever. Like so, people are going to say stuff,
Well,
but they can get themselves in trouble, miss out on
yes.
work, lose their career.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, your career can know so. Isn't it funny though? There have always been scandals. There have always been things, topics you can broach or ways you can behave that would sink your career. That's since
yeah,
entertainment media first started, being big business. That's always happened. But now it's absolutely reversed. The things that will sink your career.
mm.
In the old days, being outed as being homosexual would do that. Being outed as being, I don't know, like philandering, or for a woman having a lot of male partners, or having a background that was slightly saucy, that kind of thing, or not even having a background, having like an affair, something like that would like absolutely sink you. You might be blackballed or whatever. Or if you had certain political, like really left-wing political views in the United States and a few other countries, that would sink you. I mean, you'd be, your career would be dead. Now, it's in a lot of ways it's reversed. If you say like bad things about homosexual people, or like gender or whatever, then your career will be sunk. But if you have a saucy background, or you have a lot of affairs, or whatever, that actually is supported. So that's a strange kind of thing, in a way of looking at it. But yeah, you've always been able to be sung, and there's always been topics and parts of yourself you can't show. I mean, if you swore back in the day, all it would take is saying like the F word on air, or the C word or something like that, and you'd be dead. But doing that these days is par for the course. Doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
But there are other things that will sink you. So it's a floating continuum. There's always something that's going to do it. And at the moment,
I mean, culture will change so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, human nature doesn't necessarily change. What drives us as biological beings doesn't really change necessarily that quickly. It's very slow. Culture is crazy.
Yes.
Changing constantly. And yeah.
Exactly. So our human nature is to attack people that don't fit in.
And technology even more so, like the way that like we already touched on, like the social media thing, and like how the way that we function and the way that we can be heard and everything is, I mean, that is like blindingly fast changing.
Oh yeah,
it leads to a lot of craziness.
I mean, if the way it happens these days is like you have waves of controversy. So someone you could turn on Twitter one day and there would be like, oh my God, we all hate this guy because of this reason. And in a few hours time or a day, that is gone. No one even remembers it. And you're on to the next. Oh my God, we all hate this. This is our big thing here. And, Yeah, like Keanu Reeves, we all love him. Jeez, oh my
Yeah,
God, Keanu, everything's
that's true.
funny.
There's sort of a fitting in mentality and a sheep mentality. I don't mean that in a negative way. It just kind of is what it is. People will jump on. People want to fit in.
Hmm.
People want to be part of a group. It's sort of we're built that way
Hmm.
as humans, and that manifests itself in these kind of movements where people attaching themselves to an idea. People it's funny how you'll go online and see like the same point word for word being made by people
Yeah.
everywhere. People grab on to we just do that. People do that, and they get passionate about their side, quote unquote, about or what they
Yep.
believe in, and
Well, it's even
it
worse.
just goes that way. You get this groupthink kind
Yeah.
of thing going on, and it can be, especially when it's encouraged on social media by high profile people, by celebrities, and and the media. I would put a huge chunk of this at the door of the media, who spreads this stuff and kind of creates a narrative. And
Yeah.
you look deeper into
creates
some of these controversial things that upset people on either side, the PC crowd or the anti-PC, and so much of it is provocative questions like being asked by the media aggressively. And I feel bad for a lot of these actors and celebrities and politicians who, like, when you look at an entire interview, it's like, well, they are kind of backed into a corner. They're kind of blindsided by kind of dumb questions from the media. That a lot of this stuff comes from that, in my opinion.
Taken out of context and
yeah,
recharacterized.
Well, or it's just like they're asking these like loaded questions and these weird questions that could blindside someone. But then when the story's printed and like the comment that the personality made is the headline, so it has the effect of seeming like they're coming out and proclaiming something or aggressively, like, this is what I believe. Like,
yes.
Well,
it was just an answer to a question, and they would not.
Yeah,
normally...
they were just answering a provocative and sometimes a weird question, and they're kind of put on the spot, and they're like, okay, and like if they've never even thought about it, they just kind of have to say something, and you can fall into a trap because the media is trying to get a juicy soundbite of some kind. So it's treacherous waters out there.
It is. So, congratulations on... I have not seen this, as I think I've already indicated, this Dave Chappelle special, so I don't really know how the whole thing went and what sort of tack it took. But as you say, it seems to be that he was... He's not being, like, deliberately anti-PC or attacking people. He's just, like, confronting the criticism that he has had and not backing down. Not saying...
Yeah.
He's not playing the same game as, like what I said before, is you get strawmanned. Things you say, you get turned into a straw man because of it, and that allows people to attack you much easier. So he's not playing into the straw man. He's not saying, "Oh, mea culpa, yeah."
Not at all. No.
That
early in the special, he says, "Yeah, I'm a victim blamer." Hilarious, and he sort of goes, but he takes it to a ridiculous degree, and he says some things that are like cringe inducing.
Okay.
It's like, oh my god, like, is he making a point about? Does he really believe that? It's like, well, I don't know, probably not, but he doesn't really say. Either way, he's a comedian.
That's it. That's one thing we often misunderstand now. The comedian's role is to be not necessarily controversial, but to be the fool and to say things that we can't normally say. So they're not espousing a point of view. They're not espousing a philosophy. Well, they shouldn't be as a comedian. They are just like puncturing, putting holes in like overinflated ideas. Yeah,
and what a great time to do that. One of our Facebook commenters mentioned the fact that this might not be considered an amazing stand-up comedy masterpiece in a different time. But because of the times we live in, we're so, like, the groupthink is so strong, and the kind of something that needed to have holes poked in it, Dave Chappelle poked holes in it, and that makes it seem even better than it is. You know?
Right. Yeah, it's context dependent, and the
Yeah,
context we're talking about is the time.
yeah. And I would agree with that comment. Like, if this wasn't just taken alone, I mean, he says some shocking things,
Mm.
and things that made me like sort of wince. But it's the time that's what makes it amazing. And like at another time, yeah, this wouldn't be considered one of the greats. As funny as he is, I think he's hilarious. But because it's right now, because of his courage, in my opinion, this is like pretty legendary.
Okay. Well, we mentioned before we were having a chat, and say there's Eddie Murphy, Raw, which was meant to be was looked on for years as being a seminal.
Yeah, and Delirious before that was
Delirious. So those seminal stand-up comedy performances that every comedian would go, yeah, Eddie Murphy is one of my influences. Richard Pryor and Steve Martin in The Jerk, and or Steve Martin doing his stand-up performances and things like that. So, but when you look back, I'd say Eddie Murphy's stuff is just super homophobic. It is unreconstructedly, but people like pretend that they don't exist now. People pretend that they never cited those as seminal comedic.
I mean, I think if you ask some comedians that of a certain age, they probably still would.
All right, but they wouldn't.
Eddie Murphy was on Jerry Seinfeld's show, and even Jerry Seinfeld mentioned Raw as being, important to him. But I mean, surprisingly, Seinfeld is so not that kind of comedian.
Would they bring up the homophobic stuff that was part of it?
I don't think they would think that way, because it's like the point is to be funny.
Okay,
which it is, and I was satisfied when like Eddie Murphy said he thought Delirious was better.
Oh,
and Seinfeld was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, sweet," because I thought Delirious was way better. so it's cool. Like, yeah, Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy is like the funniest guy ever.
But yeah, there were some very homophobic parts to those.
Yeah, but he talked the way people would talk.
That's the product of his time.
That's how regular people would talk. Not to hurt anyone, but like in sort of your joking around conversations like that is like, and it exaggerated. That's not saying like go like attack gay people or something like that. It's not about that kind of hate. Although, I mean, that's so long ago though. I mean, it was a different time. It was harsher. People were harsher. And to get beyond that and not be like hurting people is important, but kind of a separate thing from like the way it is now. I think the like PC people probably have good intentions, or had at one point, to not hurt people. And I appreciate that, of course.
Well, like I say, there's the two kinds. You've got people whose sole intention is to attack people who don't fit into the group, which is a human drive. Like you were saying before, that is something, a part of our core humanity, that we want to. We're a herd species, we're a pack species, and we like to attack people who don't fit in, because that's how you maintain a good herd. And in the old days, that was like attacking gay people. And these days, it's attacking people who are anti-gay people. It changes. It's a lot of people wouldn't admit it, but it's quite. They get their jollies from going on the attack. That is, Anyway, but that is not the core of being PC. That is just one aspect. You do have the people who support everyone and bring people up, and we acknowledge those people, and they are superheroes. It's a good thing for them to do.
But it's also like being attacked personally in life is different than a comedian or someone with an opinion being allowed to say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, it's
You don't
complex,
have to
isn't it?
watch. You
It's
don't have to watch
complex.
Dave Chappelle. You know.
No. But you don't want to support a culture of, all right, so this comedian, this commentator is a leader, a thought leader almost. And they've got a whole, what they say, a lot of other people are going to copy and say, yeah, this guy really, he knows it. You know, he speaks the truth. And let me tell you about this joke that I heard that this guy said. Yeah, these fags walk into a bar and yeah, so you wouldn't want that kind of thing. And Chappelle doesn't do that. He is I can't say because I haven't seen it, but from what I've seen of him, he does not take that kind of tack. He like punctures the whole people being full of themselves and taking offense as like as almost a sport, as almost a pastime. Is that what he's sort of doing? He's sort of
He says things in that special that if you took them and repeated them as a serious point and tried to like express that as serious, you'd have to be a moron. And there are a lot of morons out there. But the question is a comedian responsible
for morons,
for people who are morons,
yeah.
who will take a joke
but they're not
that
meant
blames
to be
victims,
right,
even children, and then saying like that, has a little spoiler alert, kind of,
right,
and then takes that as a serious point and says like, you know, like you'd have to be an idiot.
It's not meant to be taken that way. That's what you're saying. This is making fun of those kind of ways of thinking. Oh God, we're talking around.
It's being funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's exaggerating things to such a degree, but then also making honest points that people are afraid to make. It's a mixture of the three, and like it's on people. Like there is some personal responsibility of people to be,
yeah,
you know, somewhat sensible.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And to understand points. I mean, this is, look, one of the things.
Yeah, or just to shut up, you know?
Just to
like,
shut up.
Don't watch it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Like,
don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
One of the points I made a long time ago is people are tending to take things literally and to take everything said as if it is meant, rather than like you say something as metaphorically or like as a joke on something. People who want to take offense at things or who want to to attack others will get rid of all the context and get rid of like the idea that is a metaphor, a simile, and will attack this person using those words against them. And yeah, that's on them. That's their fault. It doesn't matter what you say, someone will always be able to do that kind of thing. You can't design your language around the potential that someone will use it as a weapon against you. I mean, you shouldn't use your language as a weapon against someone, but you can't help it if something that you've said is like clever and is making a smart point, and someone just strips out all of that and just uses that as a weapon against you. So I think maybe that's a good point to make about Chappelle. So that's what he's doing, and that's how people will sort of use that. Do you know what I mean?
Kinda.
It's so fucking so freaking abstract, but it's hard to explain. All right. You might say a frog, a chicken, and a horse walk into a bar, and maybe I'll give the horse an Irish accent and make a specific like a joke about these things. Someone who's wanting to use that as a weapon against me would go, you think all Irish people, behave this kind of way, and like the symbolism of a horse in a boat. So you're saying like, this person represents this, has these kind of physical traits or whatever, and you could reconstruct anything as I'm being a pit face here, but I'm just gonna I'm just gonna say no. I'm not gonna keep on going with that point. It's too hard. Well, anyway,
I mean, people will say what they say. That's why I kind of hesitate, because I am incapable of expressing like what Dave Chappelle is trying to do,
yeah,
or how he's doing it, or what. Like, is this just a joke? Is he making a real point? I mean, it's a mixture of those things, I think, and it's not. I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to say. It's not my job to explain what he's saying, and I don't think he necessarily has to.
And it's not your job to defend it intricately and granularly.
No, and I don't have the capabilities to do that anyway. And I don't think it's necessarily his obligation to do that either.
Yeah, it's his
special,
publicist's job.
Look at it or don't enjoy it or don't. Say again.
It's the job of his publicist.
I wonder if he has one. That's a hard-working individual.
Well, all right. Let's take this into the world of web comics. Now, we did sort of as we were chatting, think of something that was particularly interesting. All right, so
let's do one more thing first.
Okay.
The Rotten Tomatoes thing.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's a part of the story, that's kind of interesting. And I talked about Rotten Tomatoes on the site a few months back, and their shenanigans with some movie reviews, shutting down the section where it says people are not interested or interested in seeing a certain movie. This is not Rotten Tomatoes shenanigans. This is just interesting in that the critical reviews, it was at a 0%, this Dave Chappelle special. 0% among critics.
Wow.
But for various reasons, I think it was only something like 5 or 6 critics even reviewed it. And this special was huge. It made big news and stuff like that. People didn't want to touch it. I mean, didn't want to be, get into that challenging kind of issues. So only a few people did. They all gave it a negative review until one guy, a YouTube guy, went on there and gave it a positive review. He happened to be recognized by Rotten Tomatoes as a legit critic. So that brought it up quite a bit, just the one review. I don't know where it sits now.
Well, if you've only got 5, that's a 20% hit.
Exactly, yeah. The audience score for the special, though, and I don't know how much of this was a reaction to some of the outrage, was 99% last time I checked, which is crazy, amazing.
One of the things is people who are motivated in order to support something based on their own philosophy or their own agenda. So is there an aspect of that? Does he have a block of people doing increasing his audience score based on what they think should be its score? Do you think that's fact, or do you think just these audience scores are just genuinely people like it and that's why it's there?
I think people did like it. From what I'm hearing, there's a lot of positives, and I watched the special. It's really funny. But I think definitely, because it's a story, because of the outrage. So yeah, I think there would be people who see this story and are outraged by outrage culture,
right?
And so they go in to give it a positive rating based on come on, because of the negative reaction from critics, they'll do it. Sure. Yeah,
but probably that was in the minority. So people, I think, tend to exaggerate the idea that, this is only being supported because it has a lot of unreconstructed, anti-PC, misogynist bastards and mega whatever, and they're all behind it. So basically, it is a genuinely good comedy. It's good and fun. But there is a possibility that there are these people, but probably the real effect is slight. Is that what we're sort of meaning? That, obviously there's always an element of motivated kind of douches trying to, swing pop culture their own way. But I think we've seen in the reality is when people try and do that, that tends to fade away. It's not really such a big effect as they want it to be. Like, if it really had an effect, then, they'd be able to enact a lot of change, but people can't. Am I getting too abstract again? Okay, so there's all right.
It went over my head.
All right, so there's the Star Trek Discovery, the new version of Star Trek. A lot of people didn't like that.
Bring it back to the horse and the frog in the bar. I was following you there.
The Star Trek Discovery, there's Doctor Who with a female doctor, stuff like that. So those things are seen by, that particular crowd as being, oh, that's attacks against us, and yeah, it's too PC. So they set up like a deliberate kind of attack against it to drop its audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't know, Ghostbusters, that kind of stuff. So anything that's sort of seen as being against their values, they sort of organize a joint kind of.
So there's like a mass movement against like what they see as sort of social justice warrior kind of behavior.
Exactly, they coordinate it through 4chan and things like that. That's what.
And more than that, I would say like they feel attacked by some of these like creators and actors and everything like that, which they, to be fair, they are attacked in the media. Like
yeah, somewhat, but
they're called sexist and misogynists and racist and stuff like that. So they feel attacked.
Well, it's
so
a self-fulfilling
now
prophecy.
we attack. Like
they play
reaction,
into it. I mean, so there's what you get is the whole straw man stuff, but then they own it. Which is not a smart way to be. You don't let your enemies
who owns
define
it
you.
when you say they. Like, what are you saying?
Well, what I'm saying is, the people who are characterized as being sexist and misogynist, then they own it. Then they say, yeah, okay, we're going to give you a bad rating, and we're going to do this, and they react. They're reactionary, and you don't want to turn yourself into what other people claim you are.
But are you?
Then they have a point.
By saying you're not interested in seeing a movie, or saying like I didn't like this.
Yeah, definitely. Because why would you give something a bad rating if you hadn't seen it? Why would you even bother to do it?
I don't know if that's going on though. It's like, are you interested in seeing this? And they would say no.
Yeah, there's that, sure. But on the other hand, you have people like just giving things a bad rating that don't fit into their view of the world. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that things, the idea is all those ratings are made up of those people, but the reality is it doesn't tend to be, because they do not cause change. No matter what these people do, those people that do fit into that specific thing, they don't really affect change. They don't put Star Trek Discovery off the air. They don't, force Doctor Who back to being a man again.
I read that that's actually happening. So.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Well, it was. What I mean is, it's them not forcing that change. Doctor Who's probably going to be a man anyway, because it switches from here to here to here, and they have whatever actor they want. But it's not them doing it. What I'm trying to say is that the audience reactions on these kind of sites like Rotten Tomatoes is probably more reflective of reality rather than these people distorting things. So what you were saying, Dave Chappelle special was genuinely good. It was funny. You enjoyed it. So the majority of the reaction is probably made up of people who genuinely liked it, as opposed to the critical reception, which, as you said, was only 5 people or so, which is that's an indication of something that's more motivated, because there's a much smaller number there.
Oh, I thought you were saying the opposite.
No. Okay. It's easier to distort that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's rather a complex point I was making, but
It was just the they, and they do this, they do that. They.
Yeah.
It's like, wait,
Who is
which they are
they?
we talking about? Yeah, who is they? I want a T-shirt with that. I like who is they.
Who is they? They is whoever we hate. Okay.
Exactly. Whatever side annoys you, that's who.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay. Well, let's take it back to the webcomic world. We did have
Yes.
yeah, we had a little bit of talk about that. Okay, so in the world of webcomic hosts, Comic Fury is sort of like a bit of our sister site in a way. They've sort of become that. And they have what you would describe as a PC culture. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. By saying PC culture, I'm saying, oh, PC, that's good. And they have that particular culture and particular point of view. And that is what it is. And if you go there, you can expect to have that kind of culture. Drunk Duck, on the other hand, does not have an anti-PC culture. We're not like that at all. But we have a more laissez-faire sort of culture. So what happened with Comic Fury, which is a really good site run by Poison V, I think he used to be called. He's on Drunk Duck. I'm not sure what his name is now. Anyway, so yeah, run by him. He's a very intellectual, smart guy that has its own point of view of things. What has happened, sort of, with their culture is that it turned into PC police or thought police, in that people who don't conform or don't think a particular way tended to be ostracized. And I'm not just saying that from my point of view. This was, borne out in reality, because a lot of the older creators who were really enjoying that site and were part of it found themselves attacked by these people for not, fitting in. And, using terms like cisgender and stuff like that. They were actively attacked. So they moved on to Drunk Duck. Now, and that's interesting. They didn't go to Drunk Duck because, we are also fellow, haters of that kind of behavior. Not at all. We are neutral on that. But the benefit that we have, I think, as a site is we will let people, be what they are without policing their thoughts, without saying, hang on, you can't say this, hang on, we're going to ban you for 5 days for saying this or for saying that. But by the same token, we don't support people who are making, racist, homophobic, or, transphobic comments. We're not going to support that. We're not going to say, yeah, good on you, mate. Not at all. The point is, we don't attack people for what we think they think. We don't straw man. So that's the important distinction. And I'm not saying that Comic Fury is a site that actively supports making straw men out of people or whatever, but there are people on there that have done it because it is PC and it is like a friendly, inclusive place. There are people who have used that as an excuse to, and they're probably not very many. They've used that as an excuse to, create this culture where they will attack people. Again, I'm not saying that is the culture on Comic Fury. It's only a small cadre of very vocal people that do it. So that's the distinction I'm making. All right. So, yeah, just to be totally neutral there and not blame them, because they are a good site. They're a fantastic comic host, and the guy who runs it is really cool. And, yeah, they have a lot of good things that Drunk Duck could learn from. Okay. But, yeah, I'm using it as an example of the negative implications of PC culture.
I haven't really been on there. I haven't really seen what kind of things go on there. in the
Okay.
area you're talking about. I've heard a little bit, but I haven't really seen it. I do like the idea of the sort of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, if you will, um, that we kind of stand for on Drunk Duck, on the Duck.
Yeah. Well,
I like
we
that
do have a
as a
freedom of
concept.
speech, but
It's
not
like
a
say what you
freedom to
want.
attack.
Well, it's different, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't like go attacking people. That I guess that's yeah, it has to be. I mean, I can we can't resolve it here today, but there is a difference between being like attacked. And by the way, like I mean, now that we're winding down, I don't know if anyone who's I don't know if anyone who's listening would be in this situation or whatever. But I think we all are sometimes an outsider. I definitely remember being bullied sometimes, being ostracized sometimes. I think a lot of us are like
Yeah.
unusual or like quote unquote weird in our own way. And to be like, none of this is to say like if you're like excluded from the group or if you're slammed or if you're like in your personal life or like in school or in your social group or work or whatever or online, if you're like sort of being bullied or being attacked or whatever, like I'm not saying like none of this, I hope, is being taken to mean that that's right, because it's not. For like people to attack you and exclude you and like attack you for whatever reason, whatever identity you have or whatever appearance or personality or whatever the particulars of you are, like
Yeah.
none of us here believe you should be attacked or left out or anything like that. Like there's a I don't know what the solution to those problems are though, if people are having them, but all the sympathy to that. I mean, I think most of us have been there.
Oh, definitely.
You can reach out online too, there's good people out there. Like you can get sympathy from people,
Yeah.
even if you have to go anonymous, and like get out there and look for some support if you need it.
Oh, yeah. That is a very good point. Yeah, people are driven to despair and self-harm and suicide ultimately because of various attacks on them for various reasons. Traditionally, that was a big thing in the gay community. A lot of people were like, it was like an epidemic, people driven to suicide because they were ostracized culturally and by their families and things like that because they didn't fit in with their communities, and they were attacked for being who they were. So that should never be the case. We should never have that as a thing. That's horrific. And
yes,
for
please don't do it.
reason. No, exactly.
Don't kill yourself. Don't
kill
There's
yourself.
like,
and also by the same token, realize the harm that you can do by attacking people. And that's not just attacking people because they're gay. You could be attacking people because, you've strawmanned them and you think they said something that was, homophobic or transphobic, and now you're attacking them. There have been people on Tumblr who did fan art for Steven Universe, and a particular girl. Okay, so she did fan art for Steven Universe. She did some of these sexy, like gem characters who are, body positive. They are all different shapes and sizes. She did them in a more, slightly more stereotypical mainstream way of, made them a bit more sexy, a bit more slim. And she was viciously attacked because of that. Because, oh my God, you're changing the body positive image to be mainstream and, cliche and sexy, and that's anti-body positive. And that drove her to almost commit suicide. So,
oh my God. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
What I'm saying is it can come from any direction.
Yeah.
One side isn't inherently better than another. The point isn't that one side is better. The point is that being a douche is evil. And going on the run, going on the joining bandwagons and piling onto someone and attacking them is a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what, their motive or your motive is.
Yeah, like I mean, being thought police and joke police and trying to be a censor, cancel culture, if I'm using that expression right,
Oh, I've never heard of
is
that.
one thing. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, you're not being given license to like go like torment other people or be
Yeah.
vicious to them. Like, come on,
Yeah,
don't be a
there's
moron.
this idea that, we're allowed to pick on these people now. So
Well, that's
let's
what
get
people
to
think
it.
it is. Like, I mean, sort of like people are trying to shut down messages they don't like. Maybe sometimes they're thinking like, "Oh, this is you just want to be able to be vicious to other people." It's like, well, no, it's kind of a separate thing.
Mm.
Like, I mean, being vicious to a specific person and bullying and stuff like that is sort of a separate issue from freedom of speech. But I'm not intelligent enough to really
Well,
parse those out.
I think a very simple way of looking at it is to don't become what you hate. What do you
Ah,
hate about people who attacked gay people and stuff like that? Do you hate the fact that they just don't like gay people, or do you hate the fact that they were bullies and they caused harm to a person? I think that's the worst aspect of their personality: being a bully and causing harm and taking pleasure in that. That's a problem, and it doesn't have to be, someone who's the Nazi, the evil, the homophobe. It's whoever. If you're driving them to tears, if you're driving them to suicide, that's bad, whatever their motives are or were. We've got to be human here
yeah.
and realize that, yeah, we don't want to be the bully. We don't want to be evil. And I'm not saying, Antifa are just as bad and all this, or punching Nazis is, horrible. Things are on a case by case basis. I'm just saying, don't turn yourself into the bad guy as well.
Yeah, don't go punching anyone. I'll take that stand.
No, I wouldn't
That's
say
not your
that.
job to go physically attacking other people.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But yeah, it's
Like, leave that to the cops, please.
it's complicated, but generally, I would say try not to be what you hate. Try not to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a law against physical stuff because
I have no enforcement. I have no authority to enforce this, but I would
yeah,
say don't go punching anyone who's not, hurting someone else at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
I mean, if
There's
someone's
that.
beating up a kid and you can stop it, yeah, that's different. Um, Going up to a Nazi or who you think is a Nazi at the bus stop and punching them, please don't do that. You're giving them a gift. You're
Yeah,
making yourself the violent one, and you're making them a victim. So you're just helping them. Don't do that.
that's true. That's true. We are winding. We are just going a bit long here, but
There's so much to this, and so much I don't know if I'm fully capable of handling. But being like victimized and attacked and abused is one thing. A TV show, a web comic, or a comedy special is not abusing and victimizing you. You don't have to watch it. It's very different.
there's that.
You know?
Yeah, there's that. It's yes. Well, yeah, okay. It's not
That's not
abusing
that
you.
doesn't sum no matter what you say. It's like not summing everything up properly. I know, but it
No,
just opens up a whole new thing.
it's not abusing you, but yeah. So don't abuse it. I don't know. Yeah,
You can
it's
say what
getting
you want. You
complicated.
can say you don't like it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're allowed. That's part of the point too.
But ad hominem attacks and straw man. Now, okay, these
Trying
are
to get something off the public, like
yeah.
having other people not be allowed to see it.
Unfortunately,
You know.
terms like straw man and then homonym get thrown about. So we've got to define those. Okay, an ad hominem is when you attack a person rather than what they're saying or what they believe. So you say, okay, I don't. I'm not really going to address your points or whatever. I'm just going to say you are an ugly, idiot, uneducated, fool, piece of crap. And that's my
Sound
attack.
just like my mother.
So, yeah, generally, that's not a good thing to do. And straw man. Okay, so you are a racist. You are, yeah.
No, well, straw man is like your argument is that like all white people are Nazis.
Yeah.
A straw man would be, oh, so you think all white people should die?
Yeah.
Oh, so you just hate gay people, no matter what. That's a scarecrow.
Yeah. You described it far better than I did. Yeah.
You're building like a easily defeatable version of the point of view you disagree with,
and you're forcing.
Forget all the nuance. You're saying, "Oh, this is your argument."
Yeah.
You're creating like a sort of lame version of an argument, so you can knock it down easily.
And you're forcing them to defend that. Okay, so that again is not a good thing to do. Try and understand where someone else is coming from. Try and understand the nuances of what they're saying. And yeah, try not to take it personally and attack them personally. Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah, this is a damn complicated subject. I'll let you have the last word because you're the...
Yes. Well, I wish everybody well. And, if you're suffering and you're being tormented, people like have hard lives. I get that. I just hope that none of this is taken to mean like if you're being actually abused somehow, or like emotionally attacked or bullied or anything like that, like that we're like excusing that. Like, I know that life is tough, and some people have like really tough times and everything.
It's true.
Shutting down other people who are saying things is not the answer. And I don't believe people who are really struggling with this stuff are necessarily doing that.
Yeah.
They might mean well, but I mean, if you're having a tough time like that, I know you're just trying to deal with your own trouble, So all sympathy to that. I don't know. It's complicated stuff. But yeah.
Very, very, yeah. I think that's. Oh God, I was saying you have the last word, but now I'm saying something else. I just,
come and do your comics on the duck.
I just want to say that by saying this is complicated, we are, saying that there's a lot more sides to this. You can't just say this is bad, this is good. All right, it's complicated from every aspect of it. Okay, so
yes,
sorry.
And we have no authority to enforce any of this, by the way. So
yes,
don't bother us. We're just talking. We're just trying to fill up time.
Yeah.
So have a nice day.
All right, let's wrap it up now. All right, this was the Drunk Duck QUACKCAST, number 443, I think.
Yay.
Thanks, Baines.
Thank you.
It was cool. A good subject to come up with. Nice and complicated and nuanced. Lovely. All right. Let's finish it off.
Take
Bye.
care.